Unsung Murder Ballads discusses topics of a graphic nature and in graphic detail, and may not be suitable for children under 13. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Unsung Murder Ballads. I am Janus Dead.
I'm Jameson Dead.
And I'm Joyous Dead.
Tonight we're going to be doing an episode that's I won't say a little different. There are murders involved, but this is more of a action suspense movie episode, which is kind of bizarre.
Ooh, well, you know what? I love a little mix up. I'm here for it.
My main source on this episode is a New York Times article written by Azam Ahmed, published December 13th in 2020. So anyone listening that hears something that might sound a little familiar to you, it's because some of this I took word for word because I'm literally quoting his work because he wrote it so well. So I just want to make that known up front. San Fernando, Mexico, 2015. Miriam Rodriguez clutched a pistol in her purse as she ran past the morning crowds on the bridge from Mexico to Texas. She stopped every few minutes to catch her breath and study the photo of her target, someone she referred to as the florist. She'd been hunting him for a year, stalking him online, interrogating criminals that he worked with, even befriending unwitting relatives for tips about his whereabouts.
Whoa, I was going to say, at first you started talking, I was like, is this another hitman case? Because I love a hitman case, but...
This is a little different. Now she finally had the tip on his whereabouts. A widow had called her to tell her he was peddling flowers on the border. Miriam had cut her hair, she dyed it, and she disguised herself to get personal information on her target. She invented excuses to family members, unsuspecting grandparents, and cousins who gave her details, however small. She wrote everything down and stuffed it into her bag.
Okay, well, she's just leaving a trail of evidence.
Yeah, very, very intrigued here. It's double life secret agent kind of mentality.
This is like
an
action movie. This is awesome. She knew her target's habits, their friends, their hometowns, and even their childhood stories. She knew the florist had sold flowers. She knew the florist had sold flowers on the street before joining the Zeta cartel. Now he was on the run.
Okay, a cartel involved.
Yes. Now he was on the run and back to what he knew, selling roses to make ends meet. Without showering, she threw a trench coat over her pajamas, a baseball cap over her fire engine red hair, and a gun in her purse, and headed for the border to find the florist.
Why would you have bright hair like that? That's a dead giveaway.
Well, haven't you seen Gone Girl?
Yeah, okay, all right. I had a feeling that was going to come up. All right.
No
yeah,
comment.
it's creating a false identity, you know?
Yeah.
To make it unrecognizable. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So on the bridge, she scoured the vendors of flower carts, but that day he was selling sunglasses instead. When she finally found him, she got too excited and too close. He recognized her and he started to run. He sprinted along the narrow pedestrian path, hoping to get away. Miriam Rodriguez, 56 at the time,
holy shit,
caught up to him, grabbed him by the shirt, and wrestled him down.
What kind of physical condition is this woman in? Holy crud.
It's crazy, man.
Okay, Miriam.
She jammed her handgun into his back. And this is the insane case. And there's actually a movie about this story.
What?
Of Miriam Rodriguez, her daughter, and the Zeta cartel.
Wow.
Okay.
In suspense on what happened on the bridge. For many, the northern city of San Fernando, this story represents much of what is wrong with Mexico. And what's so remarkable about its people is their perseverance in the face of their government's indifference. The country is so torn apart by violence and impunity that anyone could easily fall into despair. Many of the bars and restaurants have closed for fear of shootouts. This is how dangerous this one city in Mexico is.
That's crazy.
Mass graves are a common thing, that finding fewer than 20 remains at a time barely even merit a headline.
What? Oh my God.
Yeah, that's how much violence was happening in this area. That you find a grave with
That is
only 3 or 4
horrific.
bodies, don't even report it. Yeah, it's crazy. So the
Yeah, I
Zetas,
guess like it makes sense that there's like a bunch of people on this bridge and she's chasing him down and everyone's like, whatever.
yeah, no one says or does anything. Exactly. It's crazy. So the Zetas once were an armed wing of the Gulf cartel, had been warring with their one-time bosses for years. They snatched up innocent people for ransom to finance their wars or to conscript them in to fight it with them.
Damn.
You're a young kid and you're either taken for ransom or you're basically given a gun and told to fight.
Those are some really crappy
Fucking
options.
rough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a good place. Like, and it's funny because whenever someone talks about vacationing in Mexico, I'm like, pass. Even
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I don't see the appeal.
yeah, even the touristy places like Cancun, I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna go. But that's just me.
Really, I don't need to do that.
Yeah, I'm good. I can go to a different beach somewhere else that I don't have to worry about being held for ransom or worse.
Yep.
So
Although I would wonder what we'd be worth.
what's worse would be tortured and killed.
No, what we would no what we would be worth as far as ransom.
I had the same thought. I was like, man, I wonder how much they could fundraise from my loved ones. How much would they pay?
Well, as you'll see, well, we'll get into it because we're going to talk about some hostage taking and ransoms. So you'll hear how this works.
Well,
So-
shit. This is getting crazy.
Yeah, this is an interesting case. So sometimes the Zeta cartel, organized death matches between people they abducted just for sport.
Oh, that's just sick.
That's fucked.
So that's one of those what's worse. Yeah.
Ugh, yeah.
So the families down there suffered kidnappings and cartel imposed curfews, much as big city residents endured traffic and pollution. Like it just became part of their everyday life. They were circumscribed by violence. Many lived reduced lives, like they were literally forced to just not bring attention to themselves, not have anything of real value, that kind of thing. Hardly a block of that city was untouched. They were missing sons, loved ones murdered, and houses abandoned. For a city of about 60,000 people, San Fernando bears an infamy out of proportion to its size, based on geography, unfortunately. The city lies along the principal route north through the state of Tamaulipas. Probably mispronounced that. Sorry, Mexico. So just outside city limits, a cluster of highways untangles, each leading to strategic border crossings with the U.S. So obviously a cartel wants control of this area. Off the motorways, dirt roads in the scrubland provide a web of smuggling routes ideal for traffickers. In 2010, Mexican federal authorities discovered 72 corpses.
Holy shit.
Fuck.
72 corpses of Central American migrants at a ranch on the outskirts of San Fernando.
This is in one place. They found that many. Holy fuck.
Correct. And these were literally people just trying to get from a lower country to the U.S. and were caught, presumably by the Zeta cartel. Yeah.
Fuck. What a horrific situation.
I can't even imagine. Like I've never felt more blessed to live where I live than when I researched this case.
For sure.
Puts everything into perspective.
So those 72 bodies that were discovered were believed at the time to be the most savage killings ever perpetrated by that cartel until the following year.
Oh, Jesus.
Of course they have to one-up themselves. Of course.
That's when rampant abductions of bus passengers
Oh, God. It's not even safe on the bus.
led to the unearthing of nearly 200 bodies
Whoo!
dumped in mass graves along the periphery of that town.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Can you imagine 200
No.
bodies? That sounds like war. That sounds like something you would have found in like Auschwitz.
yeah.
So many residents fled to escape the violence, while others stuck it out because they felt they had built the city of San Fernando and they would not abandon it because of the sins of other people, which I give them credit for, but it's also kind of thick-headed in my
It is a little bit. Like, please, it's not worth it. Just get safe.
Yeah, exactly. Get out of there. Like, what are you thinking? So
You think I would do that for my fucking random ass town in Massachusetts? No, I would not.
no, I even if I built half the city myself with like my bare hands, I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean?
No
Yeah.
way.
So now we get to Miriam Rodriguez. She lives in this city, and her son Louis had moved away to escape the danger. But her daughter Karen had stayed to finish school and help Miriam run a small cowboy apparel shop she owned that she called Rodeo Boots. On January 23rd, as normal as any other day, Karen, her daughter, was driving and preparing to merge into traffic when two trucks suddenly pulled up on either side of her, forcing her to stop. Armed men forced their way into her pickup truck and took off with her in it. Now,
Oh my God.
I'm assuming that she must have told them where she lived because they drove to her family home where Karen lived during the week while Miriam was away. They threw Karen to the floor in the living room and they bound and they gagged her. And they were trying to decide what to do when a knock came at the door. It was her uncle's unsuspecting mechanic who he had called over for help with a family truck. Kidnappers panicked and they grabbed him too and they fled.
Oh
Now,
my God.
This is just happening in your city. Like, just imagine that happening where you live. You're driving, you're merging into traffic, you're abducted and brought to your own home. The amount of terror going through Karen at that point must have been extreme.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And then after abducting this mechanic, and for reasons that really don't make a lot of sense to me, they let him go.
Interesting. Maybe it seems like everyone's above the fucking law here. There can't possibly be any enforcement. So what do they think is going to happen?
I suppose so, but I mean, yeah, I guess. But I wouldn't have just let him go. If I were them, I probably would have killed him. Maybe he was of no
I guess
monetary
consequences
value
for that either.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Now, for Miriam Rodriguez, the weeks after Karen's abduction had become knotted into a single nauseating progression of calls, threats, and false promises because the cartel reached out and wanted a ransom.
Ugh.
To pay the first ransom, and I say the first ransom, Miriam's family
That's so fucked.
Miriam's family took out a loan from the bank that offers line of credits for ransom payments.
Holy fucking shit.
That's insane.
Exactly. How fucked
That
up.
shouldn't exist.
That it happens so
The fact
often.
that that's like such a common occurrence. Yeah, like that's crazy.
Yeah, so fucked up. So the family followed every instruction the abductors gave them to the letter. Karen's father dropped off a bag of cash at a health clinic and then waited in vain at a local cemetery for the kidnappers to free her, which of course they didn't do.
Oh, that's so
Fucking awful.
shitty. That's incredibly awful.
With little to lose, Miriam asked for a meeting with the members of the Zetas cartel. And to her surprise,
Oh, that's ballsy.
they agreed to meet with her.
Wow. She's fucking
Whoa.
bold. I
Yeah,
love that.
Yeah, this woman's crazy. And I presented her at the beginning as if she was like a hitman. She's not. She's going after the people who took her daughter. She's a fucking badass. So she sat down with a skinny young man at a restaurant in town called El Junior. As Miriam was sitting down with him, imploring him to release Karen, his radio continuously squawked, and she could hear what some people were saying through his little walkie-talkie. He insisted that the cartel didn't have her daughter, but he offered her help to locate Karen for a fee of $2,000, which she paid.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, at this point, what's money when you're trying to do what she's trying to do?
Right, exactly. It's your child's life.
Right. Now, through the static of his radio, she heard someone call him Sama. So a week after Miriam calling him and meeting with him and her continuing to call him, he stopped answering her calls. But other calls kept coming in, claiming to be the kidnappers. They told her that they just needed a little more money, just another $500 here or another $200 there kind of thing. The family doubted it would bring Karen home, but they would send the money anyway. And with every payment, a new hope sparkled for Miriam. She was like, maybe this will finally be the last time.
Mm-hmm.
But with every failed bid to reclaim her daughter, she would fall further into despair. Now, hope
Yeah,
is
it's seems hopeless that they're just going to be extorted for all their money.
Exactly. And it sucks because hope in that way is really like a poison for so many people that have missing family members. Like it's your only lifeline, and you're going to keep doing what you need to do. And these kind of predators are the worst.
Yeah.
Now, Miriam had already separated from her husband, and then she moved in with her older daughter, Azalea. One morning, a few weeks after the last payment that she made, she came downstairs and she told Azalea that she knew Karen was never coming back and that she was most likely dead. Azalea said that her mother said it matter-of-factly, completely resigned to what she knew had to be true.
Oh.
But Miriam told her daughter that she would not rest until she found the people who took Karen. She would hunt them down one by one until the day she died, if that's how long it took.
Wow.
Azalea watched her mother's sadness change into resolve as she gave way from hope to revenge.
Wow.
She said her mother was a completely different person after that, which, that makes sense.
It must have made her real cold and real determined to hunt these people down.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know that I could do that. Like going up against a cartel, that's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, she clearly had nothing left to lose to her.
Exactly. With that, Miriam's intensive search and investigation began. She figured that everyone posts on social media, especially photos, even small-time gangsters. She started going through every local person's social media pages, and she just needed Sama to slip up. She had already confirmed his involvement in Karen's kidnapping thanks to the mechanic that they abducted and released the night they took her daughter.
Oh, smart.
The cartel had never intended to keep him, and after they let him go, Miriam basically interrogated him to get everything he knew and saw and heard. She like mined his brain, basically. She became a social...
She's doing what the police should do, yeah.
Exactly. She became a social media sleuth, spending countless hours just trolling through Karen's Facebook profiles, looking for clues, going through social media. One morning, while she was stretched across the sofa, she discovered a Facebook photograph tagged with the name Sama. She recognized...
got him.
She recognized him immediately from their meeting. The same slender frame and clean-shaven face. Standing beside him in the photo was a young woman wearing the uniform of an ice cream shop 2 hours away in a different town. Miriam went out and she stalked that store for weeks until she knew the woman's hours by heart. And she basically waited.
She is calculated.
She's amazing. She waited for Sama to finally show up. She just sat out there every shift that woman worked, waiting.
Wow.
When he finally did show up, she followed the couple home and recorded their address. However, the police would take no action with only a location.
Wow.
They just said it wasn't enough
I'm sure the
information.
police are just fucking useless.
Well, I hate to say it. I think the police down in Mexico are probably more along the lines of, is it worth my life to go up against the cartel kind of thing? Or a cartel?
Right. We're it makes sense because also there's so much crime that one missing person probably isn't worth the resources because they have to investigate finding 72 bodies.
Or 200 bodies. Yeah, exactly.
Or 200 bodies, yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems like cartel power trumps any kind of law enforcement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when for so long, the government itself, it was unspoken that they were backing the cartels. El Chapo had an agreement with the government. As long as he kept the violence down, they would let him do a certain degree of crime. And then once
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and once he was arrested and extradited to the U.S., the cartels went to war with each other over territory because El Chapo ran the whole thing. So the U.S. sort of fucked Mexico when we took him.
Well, that's what the U.S. does. It destabilizes other countries.
Yeah, but I don't think this
kind
one
of
was
MO.
Intentional. But
it's negligence. So
yeah, there's some really good stuff out there about El Chapo if you ever want to look it up. And later, there's going to be something that happens at a prison down here that is a classic out of El Chapo's playbook move, but we'll get to that in a moment. Miriam needed to get a name And to get it, she needed to get closer. So she cut her hair. She dyed it bright red so Sama would not recognize her. Thus, the bright red hair.
Makes sense.
She then found a government uniform that she had kept from an older, low-level job that she used to have at the health ministry. So with an official-looking ID in her hand, she spent the better part of her days conducting fake polls of neighborhoods until she got the basic details of one of her daughter's captors.
Wow.
That's incredibly intelligent and really, really awesome.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing. Like, it's some Batman level shit.
You said there's
Yeah.
a movie of this
Yep.
case, right?
There is. I want to say it's
I would totally watch that. That's
I want to say it's La Civil, like something like that. Like, I know the word civil's in there. I don't know how they would pronounce it, but I'm pretty sure it's that.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, but I did look it up. It looks interesting. So after she had this information, Miriam went to the authorities. She went to all of them, local, state, and federal, but no one would help her. Yeah.
Wow.
She had files on the car that she brought with her everywhere she went. She was like a door-to-door salesperson who basically never took no for an answer. And eventually she found a single federal policeman who was willing to help her. A single guy.
Wow.
Basically, she found her Commissioner Gordon. When she put her files out on the table, he said he had never seen anything like it. And he remains on active duty to this day, but he doesn't want to be known by his real name because, one, he was never authorized to speak out publicly, and two, having your personal information out there isn't exactly safe when you're dealing with cartels.
Yeah, absolutely not.
So he said, quote, "The details and information gathered by this woman working all alone were incredible. She had gone to every single level of government and they had all slammed the door in her face." That's crazy. He also
That's
Yeah.
really shitty too.
Yeah, it's really shitty, but it's amazing on his part and her part to
Yeah,
help.
she's really impressive.
Yeah, and she's older. She's what, 56, I think we said earlier. She's not like 30 years.
Yeah.
Again, she's not really Batman,
Yeah.
Yeah, he said helping her hunt down the people who took the daughter was the greatest privilege of his career.
Wow.
So at this point, he was able to get an arrest warrant for Sama, but he had already skipped town. Frustrated, Miriam.
Dang.
Yeah, that sucks. And again, there must be an informant in the police building or whatever, the police department.
Oh, for sure.
So frustrated, Miriam redoubled her efforts to identify the rest of his crew. And before long, she had stacks of photos of Sama that he had posted, posing with other people. And then by pure chance, right? And then by pure chance, Sama turned up again. It was September 15th, 2014, the day on which Mexican Independence Day is celebrated. Miriam's son, Louis, was closing down his own shop in Ciudad Victoria to attend the festivities. He had one last customer, a young, skinny kid browsing hats. Louis dropped what he was doing to take a closer look because it was Sama.
Damn.
Yeah. Can you imagine? This guy's sitting there browsing in front of you, having no idea that you're the brother of a girl he took.
That's fucking crazy.
Like, again,
and that this guy knows.
Yeah, exactly.
Wrong place, wrong time.
But it shows the impunity in which these people can operate. Fucking nuts.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Louis called his mother and he followed him, careful not to lose him before the police arrived. When they arrested him in the Central Plaza, Sama kicked and screamed, claiming that he had a heart condition.
Fucking bullshit.
I'm just trying to picture, like, in America, you can't even get a police officer's knee off your back when you can't breathe. They're not going to go easy on you because you have a heart condition.
No.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
he has a heart condition that he has no fucking heart.
Yeah. That is his heart condition. He doesn't have one.
Yeah, he's got
That's a good one. I like that.
Thank you. Zingers of the day.
Another sticker in the making right there. All right.
Yes.
So while in custody, he filled in the details missing from Miriam's investigation coughing up names and locations of some of the accomplices. So he
Wow.
rolled over pretty easy. Although I'm going to guess Mexican police don't have the same limitations as US police.
Yeah, probably.
Probably, yeah. So someone named Christian Jose Zapata Gonzalez was barely 18 years old when the police grabbed him. And this kid is young even by cartel standards. This kid was frightened during his questioning. And Miriam sat outside the interrogation room while the teenager was being interrogated, and she could hear him asking to see his mother. At one point, yeah, right. At one point, he told the officers he was hungry, but the police weren't paying him any real attention. Miriam left, bought him lunch, and brought it back and presented him with chicken and a Coca-Cola.
Wow.
Now, the officers asked her, like, what the hell are you thinking? And she said, he's still a child, no matter what he did, and I'm still a mother.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, that takes a lot of heart to be able to do.
Much better person than I am. I'll tell you that right now.
So much. Yeah, she's an incredible person.
Yeah, absolutely amazing on every level. So Christian, because of her kindness, softened, and he told them everything.
Even if it was a calculated move, it was a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. But I'm picturing this kid, maybe he really was scared and he was asking for his mother. And then she comes in and shows him this kindness. I really think that, especially in that culture where family's so important, I just think that was probably the moment where he was like, you know what? Here you go. I honestly think at this moment he probably repented. Sure. Yeah. So he took them to the ranch where they killed a lot of people.
Wow.
Yeah. And he showed them where the bodies were buried.
Holy fuck.
He basically started confessing to being a part of a kidnapping ring.
Wow.
So they got to this abandoned ranch, and there was this decrepit tractor that marked the grave at the end of a dirt road where they buried everybody.
So fucked up.
Bullet holes pockmarked the outer walls of an adobe house, which is remnants from some gunfight from months earlier. Mexican Marines had killed 6 of the accomplices in hunting them down. That was what Christian said. Miriam picked through the debris left by the kidnappers. There were grisly stains on soiled tablecloths, bones of various sizes, some of them just mere shards of human bone. There was
what a horrific sight.
There was a noose hanging from a tree branch right outside this building.
God, that's horrific.
Miriam froze when she found a stack of personal belongings that had just been tossed aside in a pile, and a scarf that had belonged to Karen and a seat cushion from her truck lay near the top of that pile.
Oh, no.
Forensic agents claim that Karen was not among the dozens of bodies that they identified at the ranch.
Interesting.
But Miriam fought the government on its analysis, and rightly so. The following year, the family said, a group of scientists found a piece of a femur that belonged to Karen.
Oh, God.
Oh,
that sucks.
That's so sad.
It sucks when the only thing left of your loved one is a piece of a femur.
It's just so fucked up.
It just makes me picture Mexico as like this bizarre, other world.
Yeah, just like the insanity that could possibly allow this to happen is unimaginable.
And the amount of times it happens.
Right. And it's like when you look back at the Wild West of the US, the government had to put a lot of resources into bringing law to those areas. Mexico clearly never really did that. And it shows. Because prior to...
It really does.
Yeah. Because prior to the government really putting boots on the ground, so to speak, here in the US, you had lynchings. You had people with vigilante justice happening. The government had to step those things up to control the population. And in some ways, it was to protect, recently freed slaves. But in the Wild West, it was just to stop killing in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I picture Mexico to be at this point. Just pretty much like the Wild West.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah. essentially.
Yeah. So most officials in that country, in Mexico, held a grudging respect for Miriam, despite complaining about her foul language and pernicious manner.
I love that.
We're going to post a picture on Instagram and Facebook. This woman does not look like she has a trucker's mouth, but based on what they're saying, if the cops are saying she had a foul language problem, then you know it's going to be bad.
She's iconic.
That's incredible.
So an official with the state government, Gloria Garza, said that not everyone got along with her, but they respected her mission.
Hell yeah.
So on the drive back from the ranch, Miriam passed a barbecue restaurant near the entrance of the dirt road to the ranch. She had eaten there with her daughter Azalea only 2 days after Karen's kidnapping.
What the fuck?
Exactly. Can you imagine being that close and she may have still been alive?
Oh,
now at the
that's
time,
horrific.
At the time, a neighborhood resident that she knew well, Elvia Ulysses Betancourt, had been seated at a table by herself, sipping a drink. Miriam had said hello to her and asked her whether she had heard about Karen. By then, everyone had heard, but Miss Betancourt played dumb, which Miriam thought was odd. At that time, after having discovered all those bodies, she's driving by the restaurant again, and it dawns on her that maybe that woman knew something and for whatever reason had withheld it. And perhaps,
man, what a memory.
And perhaps she had been watching the ranch in case police came. And at this point, Miriam starts to get angry again. She had known Betancourt.
Oh, shit.
She had known Betancourt since she was a child, when this woman had been abandoned by her prostitute mother at a local brothel.
Oh my God.
She used to give this woman Karen's old clothes.
What the fuck?
And now here this woman was sitting in a restaurant lying to her about having not heard about her daughter's abduction.
Fucked.
So Miriam raced home and dove back into her research, discovering that this Betancourt lady had been involved romantically with one of Karen's kidnappers, who was in prison on an unrelated crime. Just as she had done with the ice cream shop, Miriam waited for weeks outside of the prison during visiting hours until Betancourt finally showed up to go in and visit her boyfriend. Police came and arrested her, later discovering that at some point that some of those ransom calls had come from Betancourt's house.
Are you for fucking real?
Fucking crazy.
Oh my God.
You can't
That's
trust
fucking insane.
You can't trust anybody down there. Holy fuck.
My God, that's fucking awful.
As the months passed, Miriam continued to fill her bag with clues that she wrung out of every case file she could find. But with each passing day, her trails grew more and more faint. Some of the culprits were dead, others were in jail. Those still on the street tried to forge new lives as taxi drivers, gas delivery men, or in the case of Enrique Yoel Rubio Flores, he became a born-again Christian.
Huh.
Can you imagine? Like, maybe if I find God
absolutely
now,
not.
Maybe if I find God now, God will hide me.
Right? Yeah, pretty sure being born again is for being a virgin, not for being a fucking murderer.
So Miriam went to the city of Aldama, his small town home of about 13,000 people, and paid his grandmother a visit.
Oh.
With a heavy sigh, the elderly woman told her that the boy had always been in trouble, but at least now he was going to church. So, naturally, Miriam...
Is that supposed to make everything right? Like,
I don't know, but my favorite part of this is, you know what Miriam's going to do next, right? She's going to start going to church every Sunday.
She's going to stake out the church. Yep.
Oh, yep.
So she started going to church, and sure enough, there he was. She had the police come in and arrest him inside the chapel. The parishioners could hardly believe it, and one of them asked Miriam for mercy for the boy.
Yeah, okay.
No fucking way.
She scoffed at them, saying, "Where was his compassion when they killed my daughter?" And 100% right.
There you go. 100%.
Imagine their shock when they hear that.
Yeah, true.
You're right. Like, oh shit, he killed your daughter. But at this point, the fucked up part about cartels in Mexico is some of them are hailed as heroes in certain areas. Like, there's a whole thing down there about they're almost treated like they're Robin Hood, and it's so far from the truth. It's so fucked up.
Yeah, I guess when that's what surrounds you. I mean, propaganda is a strong weapon.
So
It's
if
hard
you
to tell.
Yeah, especially if you go out, you commit these crimes, but then you go back to these small towns and you redistribute some of the wealth you just took. That's where they
Exactly.
protect you. That was Pablo Escobar's big thing in the early days.
Mm-hmm.
So Miriam's husband was very different after Karen vanished. He was once lively, but at this point in time, he seldom left their home. He slowly shrank, both physically and spiritually, until his children struggled to even recognize him. But for Miriam,
Wow.
the pursuit of justice was an escape from her pain, but it came at a price. Her public campaign threatened more than just a few kidnappers. She threatened the order of things in San Fernando. Her friends often wondered if she was going too far and if it was only a matter of time before something bad happened again. To which Miriam says, I don't care if they kill me. I died the day they killed my daughter. I want this to end. I am going to take out the people who hurt my daughter, and they can do whatever they want to me.
Damn, girl.
Yeah, she's got nothing left to lose.
Yeah, at that point. I mean, she does have a son, but he's a grown adult. So at least, it's not like it's a little boy. So yeah, once they took her daughter, she's got nothing left to lose.
Right.
Especially where her husband just basically spiraled into depression. It's too bad they don't go more into maybe helping him, but that's really the last I could find on her husband. So
Mm-hmm. She's off on her own now, coping in her way.
yeah, she became Batman.
Yeah.
She really did. In March of 2017, nearly 24 prisoners escaped from the penitentiary in Cidade Victoria by digging a tunnel under the prison.
Damn. That's cartoon shit.
Well, it's El Chapo shit. He escaped from multiple prisons by digging tunnels.
Damn.
Yeah.
They put a poster over the hole.
Like
They really
Shawshank.
gotta make prisons better.
Yes,
People
thank
are not
you.
trying.
Yeah, the one with El Chapo, he actually had help from the outside. So he was digging on the inside and other people were digging on the outside and they met in the middle kind of shit. Absolutely crazy.
Oh, gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah. But they were digging from like another, I mean, I don't know how far away it was, but it wasn't like this obvious place. They were digging from inside another house. It's fucking crazy.
That's crazy.
So this prison where all these people escaped is the same prison where a lot of the people that killed her daughter were being kept.
Oh, shit.
So, of course, Miriam's worried and she asked the government for protection. The police said they would send periodic patrols by her home and her work, but the family was not satisfied. But Miriam didn't let that stop her. At one point, Miriam broke her foot chasing down one of her last targets, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that didn't stop her at all, though.
Oh, no.
No.
And she also found a young woman who had left town and begun working as a live-in nanny in the same city of Cidade Victoria. True to form, Miriam spent days parked near that family's home waiting for that young woman to emerge. She literally urinated in cups and ran her battery down listening to the radio in the dark.
Wow.
Her son Lewis would have to sneak out onto the street to jumpstart her battery.
Oh
Oh,
my
God.
God.
So fucking crazy. So on Mother's Day
What
of
a
that,
stakeout.
I know, right? Yeah, somebody sneaking over to jumpstart your car. That's hysterical. So
Yeah.
on Mother's Day of that year, Miriam was wearing a cast and using crutches. At 10:21 p.m., she was headed home. She was once again living with her husband in a small orange house where Karen had once stayed. She parked on the street and lumbered out of her car, moving slowly because of her injury. A white Nissan truck carrying men who had escaped from that prison quietly pulled up behind her. They fired 13 rounds into her.
Oh, shit.
Her death
Holy shit.
gave shape to the impunity that twists everyday life in Mexico. and the government scrambled to react. Within a few months, it arrested only 2 of the culprits and killed a third in a gunfight. As for the
Wow.
As for the people who ordered the hit, who feared her activism more than they feared the repercussions of killing her, they remained shrouded in secrecy. Her son Luis began to become obsessed over who they were. But he had learned from his mother's mistakes. Like, he pushed it, but he would only go so far.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I won't make the same mistakes of my mom. Though he assumed leadership of the group of supporters that she had kind of built up around her to help her, after her death, that movement pretty much just went away.
Oh, yeah, that sucks.
In June of that year, nearly a month after Miriam's death, officials in the state of Veracruz, acting with information that she had provided, arrested yet another suspect in Karen's case. The woman they arrested she confessed to beating and torturing Karen during her kidnapping. She hung her up
What the fuck?
She hung Karen up like a punching bag and beat her.
Oh, God.
What? I don't understand why there's so much cruelty. Like, if you're kidnapping someone to extort money and then kill them, like, why are you, why?
I don't know. I mean, again, it goes back to maybe they feel a sense of power. Maybe.
Yeah, I guess why does anyone do anything?
Yeah, exactly. It's so fucked up to imagine, like, the kind of high you get from doing something like that. And for normal people like us, we'll never get it.
Yeah, no way.
But after killing Karen, the woman had fled to Veracruz, where she drove a taxi while trying to raise her young son. And Miriam's, obviously, her research had been able to help police find her.
Wow.
Not long after.
So at least some justice.
Some justice. I mean, she did catch a lot of people, but it's hard to say how many of those people that had escaped were part of her daughter's group of killers and how many of them escaped justice after that. Because
right.
of 12 people getting out of prison, they only caught 2 and killed a third. And this
right,
woman,
and then the rest are just like on the loose.
Yeah, exactly. They never, to my knowledge, they never caught any more of them. So
that is fucking crazy.
Yeah, not long after Miriam's murder, a 14-year-old boy disappeared, and his family went through the same journey that Miriam had done.
Oh, that's such crap.
Miriam's son Louis helped the grieving family, but everyone remembered what Miriam had gone through and what the consequences of that had been. But after that, pretty much that unraveled everything that she had done. People began pushing the Mexican government to make changes and be harder on those doing these kidnappings. That boy that went missing, his body had been found using cell phone technology, and some of those involved had been apprehended. But the boy's family was fearful of going any further than that, which is just sad that it almost sets everything back. So
that's so sad.
It's so upsetting. It's like, I don't know. I don't know what you can do about it. Like, there's literally, I hate to say it, the only way to fix the problem would be for Mexican authorities to go in and treat it like a war zone. They would have to go in with the military at full force and take them out. And what kind of damage does that do to these towns? It would be like Syria.
It would destroy them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It would destroy everything in the way.
Yeah. And maybe
what happens if they lose?
Well, I don't know that they would lose, but it would destroy the country. So really, what can they do? I mean, I guess they have to do something, but I can't come up with another solution other than force. You're not going to get them out any other way.
Yeah.
So unfortunately,
it sucks.
It really, really does. And unfortunately, kidnapping for ransom is still a huge problem in Mexico, as is human trafficking. The sad truth is
That's so twisted.
Yeah. The sad truth is that most of Mexico is not safe to travel in, especially if someone sees you as someone they can make money on.
That really, it's fucking rough.
Yeah. Like I said, I'll never go to Mexico again. I went in the late 90s to Tijuana, and that's enough of Mexico for me.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. And that's
plenty.
Yeah, that was safer back then. So according to reports, as of 2023, there are 100,000 missing people in Mexico that have not been found.
Wow.
And over 50,000 bodies that have been found but yet to be identified.
Holy
Oh God,
shit.
imagine having that job.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So let's assume best case scenario that 50,000 bodies they can't identify are part of that 100,000 that can't be found. Because I have a feeling they're not related. You know what I mean? It's
Oh my
crazy
God.
the
Yeah.
number of missing and dead people in Mexico.
It's like that's like an unbelievable,
Yeah,
unbelievable quantity.
it's unfathomable. Yeah, like in terms of crime statistics, it's fucking nuts. So this number has caused over 40,000 family members of missing persons to take action. Frustrated by the lack of government help, groups of families began their own searches for people who have disappeared in their areas. They're literally taking courses in forensic anthropology, archaeology, law, and buying caving equipment, and they're becoming experts in identifying graves and bones. How fucking
Wow,
sad.
that's impressive.
How fucking
Damn.
sad is your government when your people have to do this to solve crimes?
Yeah,
It's so angering. I'm like infuriated.
it's insane.
I mean, at least they have some kind of motivation to want to do something about it instead of just sitting on their ass moping about it.
That's true, but they shouldn't have to. I mean,
No, I'm not saying it makes it right. I'm just saying it's impressive that they're able to pull together and get this kind of stuff going.
No, I agree. I'm just frustrated that they have to. That's all.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, no, I
absolutely.
completely agree.
So there are now at least 13 of these groups across Mexico that are studying and doing all these things that they need to do to solve these crimes. The administration of former President Felipe Calderon, who served until 2012, militarized the Mexican security forces to fight the drug cartels. In the 10 years that followed, these so-called war on drugs that he launched left tens of thousands of murder victims, with numbers varying widely between civic institutions and government figures, meaning that two different groups are reporting two different numbers on how effective his war on drugs actually was.
Wow.
The International Institute for Strategic Studies issued its annual survey of armed conflicts, stating that 23,000 people died in Mexico in armed conflict in 2016.
That's a lot. That's fucked.
I know a lot of people die of gun violence here in the US, but just imagine if they were fighting each other in the streets and that was 23,000 dead.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
The average number of people kidnapped in Mexico per year over the last 8 years is 1,069 per year.
Holy shit.
Now,
oh my God.
There has been a general decline in these numbers since 2016 and 2017 being at their peak when it was almost 1,400 people kidnapped there.
Holy shit.
So something's working because fewer people are being kidnapped, but the numbers are obviously still way too high.
Yeah.
So now there's a lot to be learned from Miriam Rodriguez, and not the least of which being how dangerous it is to pursue criminals. It absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that here in America, and I know this is on a much lower level, but if you see someone committing a crime, they tell you get out of the way and call the police because you don't know. Yeah, because you don't want to escalate. And it's funny.
Yeah, vigilante justice, not always a good idea.
Right. And it's funny because people will make arguments the other way. They'll say, because there are some states that have the stand your ground law and it's okay to shoot someone that you think is threatening you kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't always work out in your favor either. So
yeah.
But that is the case of Miriam Rodriguez and her quest for justice for her daughter Karen against the Zeta cartel.
Honestly, she slayed. Rest in peace.
Yeah, she was honestly, yeah, she's like a hero. Like she really is. And it's unfortunate that she met the end that she did, but you know what? In a way, it was kind of a heroic death at the same time.
Yeah, and she probably felt some sort of peace with it.
Yeah, I mean, she took down a lot of people.
Yeah, and she knew that was going to happen eventually.
Yeah, she knew.
She knew what she was doing.
Yeah, she embraced it in a lot of ways because she was not going to let up. I'm willing to bet she was surprised it didn't happen sooner.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm surprised she made it as far as she did and that she made as much impact as she possibly could, but she could have been done right at the start.
Yeah, they could have killed her at that first meeting, but they saw her as a paycheck and they decided to keep fucking with her.
Right. Yeah. Well, they fucked with the wrong person.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Yeah, this time there was
Yeah.
a cost to that.
So yeah, I'll post on Instagram some photos of her, but you can look her up. I mean, it's funny because the pictures I find of her is where she has the bright red hair and she just looks like this unassuming old lady. Like you wouldn't have thought she'd be hunting you down. And it's just nuts that she did. And then she chased some dude over a bridge and like tackled him.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That's so impressive.
Yeah, she's badass. She's the hero of this story. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so
Go off. Not often are we like yas to the murderer, but like go off, queen.
well, she didn't kill anybody.
Oh, sorry. Maybe I misunderstood. I thought we were like she got some of those targets.
No. She brought the police to all of them. What I left out in that opening moment was that when she put her gun in his back, she told him not to move until the police got there. But I left that out because I wanted you guys to wonder who the actual criminal was. So.
Okay. I see you.
No, she never killed anybody. She is the hero of the story. Yeah.
Honestly, she'd still be the hero even if she did kill him.
That's true too. I 100% agree.
I'll say in my headcanon, in my version of this story, she did.
Yeah, well, she was more like Batman instead of the Punisher. That's how that breaks down. Yeah. And a lot to all our listeners at home, yes, I make a lot of comic book references. But I'm sure they're obvious enough that they get them. So
I would think so.
Yeah. I'm not being
most
super
of them.
obscure.
I get most of them.
Well, you get the Punisher, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're there. That's probably the most obscure one I've made in a while. So yeah, that's our case on Miriam Rodriguez. Thank you guys again for joining us. We'll see you next week. I am Janus Dead.
I'm Jameson Dead.
And I'm Joyous Dead.
All right. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.